How's it going, YouTube? It's LB Ninja 7 and welcome into a Chiji raid healing guide. Now, if you're like me, you're probably just tired of the standard Yu'lon ramp playstyle, and I don't know, I've just been searching for some way to make Chiji work and to perform well in Mythic raiding, and I do think that I have finally found the key to unlocking this Chiji build. Now, here on screen, this is the talent build that I have landed on. I've done a lot of testing, a lot of different iterations in my Mythic raiding, and this is just what I've found. There are some slight variations that you could take, like you could drop Refreshing Jade Wind for Mist Wrap. That's totally fine. I've just really been a fan of Refreshing Jade Wind in this build because it's very hands-off healing. Also, you could opt for Conduit of the Celestials, and I did find some success with Conduit on like specific fights like Soulbinder and Nexus King. On our Nexus King prog, I've really liked Conduit. However, for the majority of fights, I've been like shocked at Master of Harmony's healing. Just the harmonic surge healing that you get off in a raid environment is insane. It is so high, it's like consistently your highest healing source, especially if you learn how to game it. Now, other than just like minor talent tweaks or minor variations that you might want to try out, the one talent that I do have to make sure that you are playing if you're playing Master of Harmony is you definitely want to be playing Purified Spirit. The talent alone isn't very good, honestly. However, if you aren't playing Purified Spirit, that means that you're playing Harmonic Gambit, and what Harmonic Gambit does is it converts some of your vitality into damage. But with this build, we just want to be doing as much healing as possible, so that's why we take Purified Spirit. Very rarely will you not use up all your vitality. That probably will never happen. This is just so that none of your vitality is used as damage and all of it's used as healing. Before we get into like the rotation and everything, I do want to show that I have been killing bosses with this on Mythic, and it is a very good, consistent performer. However, it does have some pros and cons. I do believe that the biggest cons to this build, when comparing it to the Yu'lon build, are that the Yu'lon build just has a higher ceiling. So if you're in a Mythic guild that's probably already killed Dementius, and your guild is going back through and you're doing like parse runs, you would probably parse higher with Yu'lon. However, if you're still progging bosses or just re-clearing and trying to be as consistent as possible, this build can perform to that same caliber. I'll show you on the Soul Hunters kill, we still are 5 healing Soul Hunters. A lot of guilds are even cutting down to 3 healers when they're re-clearing just for prog or for parse kills, but we're still 5 healing and it still is just doing fantastic healing. And just to prove that I'm playing Chiji, we have, let me click on it. We have Ancient Teachings, oh goodness. Ancient Teachings Harmonic Surge in the top there. So yeah, this build is fantastic. Now ignore this Fractalist kill because we did get the bug that they had to hotfix, and me and another healer got absolutely destroyed. And along with a lot of other players got destroyed on this log. You'll see here right at this moment we all died. So ignore that one. But other than that, this build puts up very consistent results. Now another big pro to this build is that you really do not have to worry about mana, and this has been my number one least enjoyable reason for why I've not enjoyed playing Yu'lon this season, is that the mana is very it's very hit or miss and very hard to control. Although I have kind of gotten it down, I still just don't enjoy doing it, and this build legitimately does not care about mana. And to show you that it doesn't care about mana, let me show you my resources on one of these logs before we get into the pools as well. But just to show you, before 11.2.5, I also did kill Fractalist. So I've been progging with Chiji builds and having very good success for multiple weeks now, really trying to fine tune it and get this build down. But just to give you an example, this is what our Yu'lon build's mana looks like. And yeah, I did go a little buck wild at the start here, so this isn't the perfect example, but as you see, we're constantly dipping down kind of close to 0%. You just have to really game your mana to be able to stay in a fight, so it gets very frustrating to have to play around. And this is what other healer mana bars look like. Notice that the graph starts at 100 because this guy started at 100% mana. Now once I swap over to my mana, you'll notice that I start at 20%. So this just shows you that your mana legitimately does not matter. The reason why this looks so jumpy is because it's scrunched. I start at 20% and I do that on purpose. We'll get into that. So really quick, let's go ahead and just talk about the rotation, and then I'll get into the key that I think is what unlocks this build and takes it to that next level to be able to compete to some extent with the Yulon build. So for the rotation, you kind of still have your moment outside of Chiji and your moment inside of Chiji. So let's go ahead and talk about outside of Chiji. What are you doing? Well, it's the same Chiji rotation you're used to. You're going to Jade Fire Stomp just to maintain your Jade Fire Teachings buff. That way, your damage will heal to its maximum effect. If you let this buff fall off, then all of your globals are going to be much, much less powerful. So you're going to Jade Fire Stomp just enough to maintain that, and especially if you have to move on a fight, you definitely want to be smart about where you're placing or when you're placing your Jade Fire Stomps. So keep that in mind. Outside of that, outside of maintaining this buff, you're going to Rising Sun Kick when available, Tiger Palm until you have 4 stacks of Teachings in the Monastery, and then you're going to Blackout Kick. It is literally that simple. Now, the one thing that does, that I have been still trying to test a bunch, is when you are sitting at 6 stacks of your Harmonic Surge from your tier set, should you take Rising Sun Kick out of your rotation? And I'm still gaming with that, I'm still trying to tweak that, but so far, I still have liked keeping Rising Sun Kick in the rotation at all times, even when I have that 6 stacks of Harmonic Surge, but still, your rotation is super simple with this build. Now, this goes without saying, but you want to make sure that you have as much melee uptime as possible, because the moment you're forced out of melee, you are a much, much weaker version of yourself. So try to maintain melee uptime. Now, the biggest change from this Chiji build from other Chiji builds in the past is that, well, one, we're not really gaming our mastery. You don't really want to, scale up your mastery a ton to get as much mastery healing from your Chiji anymore. That's the thing of the past, because, one, so much of our healing comes from our damage sources from ancient teachings. So it's better to scale up things like your Jade empowerments. You'd rather scale your damage rather than your mastery, and putting points into mastery just doesn't really affect your ancient teachings healing. And 2, your tier set also is a proc heal that you're going to be doing very, very, very often, and it is very, very, very powerful, and it also doesn't gain any value from you scaling your mastery. So that's a big change from like Chiji of the past. So if you're coming back from like years back when we would do that, go haste mastery, that is different. So for that reason, you do want to go with haste and crit as your main stats, primarily haste first, except for if you're playing conduit. I've noticed that like haste equals crit is a little bit better. I had to scale down my haste a bit because that haste that you get from your tier set is pretty crazy. But once again, we are talking about Master of Harmony. So haste, then crit, and then verse, and then mastery. It's not bad if you have some mastery. A little bit isn't bad, so you don't really need to like recraft a piece if you have some mastery on your build, but trying to scale this number down as much as you can will actually benefit you in the long run. The next biggest change that I have really noticed as a way to really optimize your healing is you have to be very choosy with your Thunder Focus Teas. So if you're someone who is looking for a Chiji build in Raid because you like our Mythic Plus build so much, in Mythic Plus you kind of just send your Thunder Focus Tea once you're max Vitality. Now, the reason why that works in Mythic Plus is because, in a Mythic Plus dungeon, it'll probably take around 30 seconds to get your Vitality full, so that really lines up well with your Thunder Focus Tea timer. But with this Raid build, since you're kicking up so many Harmonic Surges, you're proc healing so much, you're always healing, you're going to get full Vitality very quickly. So with this build, you don't do what you do in Mythic Plus. You don't just send your Thunder Focus Tea the moment you hit max Vitality, because you really want to make sure you're getting the full value of it. Since you aren't sending your Thunder Focus Teas for damage, per se, you're sending them for healing. So in order to optimize your Thunder Focus Tea usage, you want to use your Thunder Focus Tea at moments where healing is needed. So kind of treat it like how we use our Shaylun's Gift. You know how you use your Shaylun's Gift to get a Shao-Ao's Lesson buff before you press like Revival, or before you go into your Celestial like Chiji or Yulon, or before you use your double Jade Empowerment charges. Like you use it before big moments that you need to do big healing. That's kind of what I've found Thunder Focus Tea to be used best. Now, you also don't want to sit at 2 charges of Thunder Focus Tea. This is the most valuable enabler for this build because it guarantees your Harmonic Surge procs on your next 2 Tiger Palms, but it also, like I said, it just adds a big healing amplifier that scales up everything you're doing, including like your Ancient Teachings, your now, and your Harmonic Surges. It scales up everything. So really be smart about your Thunder Focus Teas. So you want to find that timing where you are full vitality, but you also need to use it for healing. Now, what do you use your Thunder Focus Teas on? It really depends on where you are at in a fight. So outside of Chiji, I've noticed that honestly the best default is just Rising Sun Kick. That verse really goes a long way, especially if you can Rising Sun or Thunder Focus Tea a Rising Sun Kick and shortly after use your Crackling Jade Lightnings, because that verse benefit that you're getting from Secret Infusion will scale up your Crackling Jade Lightnings a ton. So default to Rising Sun Kick outside of your Thunder Focus Tea. However, it's really not a bad idea to use it on an Enveloping Mist too, because that will guarantee that you're putting your Aspect of Harmony on that ally. So if someone is taking a pounding, maybe has a big nasty dot on them, or they take a big chunk, or it's a tank, you can Thunder Focus Tea and Enveloping Mist, guarantee they get that Aspect of Harmony healing, and then all of your or a lot of your Harmonic Surges are going to be critting as well. So you can really play around that crit. God, that was so hard to say for some reason. So those are kind of like my 2 default outside of Chiji. But with Chiji, you kind of have 2 other ones that you want to be pressing. So the best one that I've found in Chiji is using it on an Enveloping Mist. So what that will look like, I'll show you what that looks like once we talk about Chiji, but ideally you want to use it in your Chiji on an Enveloping Mist. But you can also use it before your Chiji, coming into your Chiji, the same way we always have on a Renewing Mist to get that burst healing or burst haste from your Secret Infusion proc. So outside of Chiji in your normal rotation, Thunder Focus Tea on Rising Sun Kick or Enveloping Mist. Inside of your Chiji or before your Chiji on Enveloping Mist or Renewing Mist. So now that that's out of the way, Thunder Focus Tea is very important, by the way. It's incredibly important to maximize your healing here. Let's talk about your Chiji rotation. And this Chiji rotation is very similar to what you're probably used to playing if you've played a Chiji build in Raid in the past. However, one major difference is you used to ramp out a bunch of Enveloping Mists, ramp out a bunch of Renewing Mists with those Enveloping Mists, and then capitalize on those a little bit with maybe a few Vivify casts. You don't really do that with this build because your Tiger Palms are going to be capitalized. They are going to be your proc heals that are going to benefit from the all the mists, hots, all the healing amplifying that you're doing. Also, if you have a Thunder Focus Tea lined up with your Chiji, you're also going to have more healing amplification with your Coalescence. So that plus the Chiji Mastery procs kind of are acting as your what you're cashing in on all those hots and healing amplifications effects. So what the Chiji build looks like, since we aren't in Midnight yet, you still do have to prep your Chiji. So ideally, you'll always have full vitality. I promise you in a raid fight, you'll always have full vitality. So just imagine that my vitality meter is full, but you're gonna do a fresh Jadefire Stomp and 2 Tiger Palms. Just make sure that you start your Chiji with 4 stacks of Teachings of the Monastery so that first Blackout Kick will hit everything and stack up your Chiji very quickly and do a big burst of healing. And 2, you also, like I said, you want to have a fresh Jadefire Stomp. That way you start your Chiji ramp with with your Awakened Jadefire as well as a fresh Jadefire Teachings. Now, once again, I've already mentioned it a couple times, but you are going to be trying to Thunder Focus Tea in your Chiji ramp, so that will do a very good job of refreshing your Jadefire Teachings, but still you have that effect on the ground of Jadefire Stomp that you want to still have on the ground for your whole Chiji. So once again, we're going to Jadefire Stomp, Tiger Palm, and then we're going to summon Chiji and do a first initial Blackout Kick, and then we're going to get into the Chiji rotation of trying to get to 3 kicks, do an Enveloping Mist, 3 kicks, do an Enveloping Mist, and I will also be squeezing in a Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist in there. Try not to, if you've already kicked 3 times, and your next Enveloping Mist is going to be instant, try not to waste that instant Enveloping Mist on a boosted Thunder Focus Tea Enveloping Mist. So What I'm trying to say is you want to like do a big 3-stack blackout kick. It's going to get you fully stacked up on your Chiji. You're going to do an instant enveloping mist, Thunder Focus Tea, another instant enveloping mist. And that way you have 2 bursty enveloping mists, one after the other, and it's not interrupting your Chiji rotation, and your next Tiger Palm blackout kick will have increased crit chance from the secret infusion, and all of those harmonic surges will blast healing. So what this kind of looks like, I guess I've kind of, prepped it enough. Let's go ahead and do it. So Tiger Palm, Summon Chiji, blackout kick, enveloping mist, Thunder Focus Tea, enveloping mist, Rising Sun Kick, and then you just do your kicks, enveloping mist, Tiger Palm, blackout kick, enveloping mist. It's just rinse and repeat, except it's basically your normal rotation, except you are squeezing in enveloping mist whenever they're instant. So now I'm going to do another Thunder Focus Tea, and boom. So it's basically your normal rotation, but like I said, you are squeezing in those instant cast enveloping mists once you get them. So definitely make sure you're tracking your Chiji stacks, because once you get to 3 stacks, you're going to send an enveloping mist. But this is an incredibly bursty cooldown. It doesn't, I think this is like probably the main downside to playing this Chiji build over Yu'lon, is that you don't have as high of ceilings. Like Yu'lon can peak its healing, its HPS, like sky high. Chiji can get very high, especially now, like I said, you aren't pausing your Chiji rotation to Vivify around. You're going to be Chiji rotation the whole Chiji because your harmonic surges are that cashing in. So you are still extremely high of a peak of HPS, and you maintain it the whole Chiji. You will peak a bit more once you Thunder Focus Tea due to Coalescence, but other than that, it is sky high. It's plenty healing for handling a mechanic in Mythic Raid. And one last note to mention before I get to that key that I've found that I think unlocks this build, I do want to talk about Jade Empowerment and Shaylun's Gift. Jade Empowerment, its ideal use is when there are adds to cleave off of and there's heavy damage coming in, but it's also extremely good even in single target. Note that your single target highest hitting ability is Rising Sun Kick. It hits for about this much, 473k non-crit, but a Crackling Jade Lightning will hit and do much more DPS. You see there, it does like that much damage every tick. So it is higher damage to use your Crackling Jade Lightning than your normal standard punch kick rotation. So using your Jade Lightnings when there is more damage coming in is still exceptional. There are also moments in this raid where a few different allies, like on Fractalus, will have a dot on them. This heals through Ancient Teaching, so like if those walls come through and hit those 5 allies, then this is fantastic to heal those 5 allies because it splits the healing 5 different ways because it heals through Ancient Teachings. I guess I can pull up Ancient Teachings really quick. But yeah, you definitely want to be using your Jade Lightning charges. You don't want to you don't want to overcap on the 2 Jade Empowerment charges because it is, like I said, just higher healing, higher HPS than your standard rotation. And ideally, if you know there's going to be a mechanic coming up that you don't have Chiji for, you don't have Revival, all you have is Jade Empowerment to kind of like help another person's cooldowns heal through it. You do want to try to Thunder Focus Tea to buff those to make them hit harder, so you can Thunder Focus Tea, a Rising Sun Kick, and then go immediately into your Crackling Jade Lightnings to do more healing, or you can even preempt it with a Shaylun's Gift to try to get a Shao's Lesson buff to buff your Jade Empowerment. So you definitely want to treat this as like a mini cooldown, and there are more optimal times to use it, like when you can cleave. But then also the other thing that I want to talk about is Shaylun's Gift. I kind of mentioned it with your Jade Lightnings. You can preempt your Jade Lightnings with a Jade Empowerment if you know they're going to heal. I'm sorry, with a Shao's Lesson Shaylun's buff. God, all these names, they just jumble up in my head. However, the most important time is still, you do want to preempt your Chiji with a Shaylun's Gift. You'd want to come into that Chiji with a Shao's Lesson buff 100% because that is your most healing that you're going to be doing. And ideally, if you can also afford to, you can do it with Restoral. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but now that I'm looking at it, another big con to this build versus the Conduit build. The Conduit build can do this like mini game where you can really use the crit buff, use all the haste, use all the free extra rushing wind kicks that you're doing to really shave time off your Revival cooldown. This build doesn't really play into that little rotation, so that is another con. If your guild is trying to maximize like a 1.5 minute revival on this fight, you probably don't want to go with this build, or at least you want to try to play conduit to do that. So that's just worth noting. But now we've kind of talked about the build, we've talked about the rotation. I want to talk about the key, the piece that I think really does kick this build into overdrive, and why I think the fact that this build really doesn't care about its mana. You can literally start a fight at like 0% mana and kind of be okay. I mean, obviously not 0%, but you can start your fights very low on mana. Your mana stays pretty steady. I've gone fights where I'll start it at like 10% mana, not even drink mana tea, and be fine for the whole fight. Now, why is that? Why would you want to start a fight at low mana? Well, that is the secret to this build. Something that I showed on stream, and a lot of people were like, dude, you need to make a video about this because this is crazy. I haven't heard anything about this trinket, but this trinket, Diamantine Void Core, is admittedly, it's not the best trinket. Most people have it equipped to try to, they're just trying to use the equip bonus of it, which the equip bonus is fantastic. Sure, it's definitely, BIS, but not a lot of people are gaming this trinket because not a lot of healers specs allow you to do so. However, this Chiji build does. So I'll go ahead and read it. Your spells and abilities have a chance to empower the Void Core, giving you 11,000 intellect for 15 seconds. This chance is increased by 25% while below 25% mana. Also, multiple applications may overlap. So, going back to that log where I started the pool at like 20% mana, now you understand why. If you start a pool at 20% mana and stay below 25% mana the entire pool, you are going to have that increased chance to gain 11,000 intellect. That's main stat permanently for the whole fight. And just to show you how insane this trinket can be, this is just a random fight. I haven't looked at the numbers yet, so I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I want to look at buff uptime. So buffs, we're going to scroll down, and I want to find this trinket. Diamantine Void Core, you see we had a 63.39% uptime. That is insane. Insanity on a main stat proc. And notice that that's just the uptime that we have at least one stack of this trinket's proc. It can overlap. Multiple applications may overlap. So I probably had 2 stacks for a lot of this time too. So we probably had 23,000 intellect for free. So you can really game this trinket. And you're probably like, oh, that doesn't sound that strong. How strong could that be? That's more intellect than your chest piece gives you. That's almost half as much as a 2-hand gives you. I mean, maybe it's a little less than a third of what a 2-hand gives you. It's a lot of intellect. So if you've been lucky enough to get Diamantine Void Core, especially if you have the one of the weapons to go alongside it, this build might be an option for you. Because, like I said, you can really game it. Now, if you do play around Diamantine Void Core, you do want to start the pool at less than 25%, maybe around 25% mana, and you want to try to sit there as long as possible. So that means you'll probably have to break the habit of drinking mana tea to shoot your mana bar all the way up. And if you want to drain your mana, what I do is I just do the lazy man's way of just casting a bunch of enveloping mist before we pull a boss. I will get my mana bar all the way down by doing so. But another thing you can do, just to really quickly do, is you can swap specs to like Brewmaster and then swap back to your Mistweaver. You just want to make sure, because you'll swap back with 0% mana, you want to make sure that it doesn't mess up your gear. So make sure that you like save an equipment manager preset for your healer. Or healer spec, and you should be good to go. But yeah, this item alone, I was really trying to get the Chiji build to work, and honestly, I wasn't like too impressed. Like, I was having a lot of fun, I was putting up fine results, but it wasn't until I got this item and tried to game it and started pools below 25% where I really started to shoot up my healing. Like, this added a lot of HPS. It might not read like it does, but it added a ton. And also in the vault today, I did just get the antenna. So on none of the pools before, or that I've shown you on the logs, I did not have an antenna. So Yeah, that's going to do it for this guide, guys. I do want to make some more videos on this build, so if you are interested and want to see more, I'm going to be recording my re-clears tonight. If we do re-clear some bosses, we might just, stick it out and try to get Nexus King down. So if you want to see some kills of mythic bosses with this build, comment down below and let me know so that you know, or that I know that you want to see more on this build. You want to see some gameplay. On top of that, just let me know what you think of this build. I think the moment that I got this trinket, I was extremely impressed with specifically this build because it allows you to really game it and sit below 25% mana and have that increased chance to get this proc. And it honestly, this build cranks. And also, one thing that I didn't mention, another pro to this build, I guess I might as well mention it now, is your damage, dude. Your damage is insane. Let me just go ahead and go to my my logs, and I'll show you a damage log. I guess really quick, the damage is insane. So, I mean, this is me not even trying to damage parse, and you do so much damage. So if your guild is kind of trying to push a boss before something or something, this could be another reason why you might want to swap. But obviously, this goes without saying, I would definitely talk to your raid leader if you guys are progging on some mythic bosses, if you want to try out this build. Maybe let them know that you won't be able to revival as often. Let them know the difference in your cooldowns, maybe. Definitely think it over, see if this build is right for you. But yeah, this build is, honestly, I am like shocked at how great this build is, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you guys give this a shot. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you find any improvements, like maybe some slight talent tweaks that I have maybe overlooked and just been testing other things for. But guys, make sure you like this video before you head out. Make sure you're subscribed if you want to see more Mistweaver Monk content, or if you want to see more healing content leading into midnight. I don't have alpha access, but hey, maybe one of you guys knows someone at Blizzard that can kind of like point them in the direction of my channel and get me some alpha access, because that would be super fun to dabble with. But until then, I'll probably just wait out until the beta and be blasting some beta healer content. But guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Yeah, like I said, make sure and comment below if you want to see more on this build. If you want to see more kills, more prog kills, I'll definitely be recording some raid soon to get you guys that content. But guys, I'll see you in the next one. Until then, take care, guys.